How do I know you're telling the truth? Most people can't afford the truth. I can. Oh, that's right. I forgot. You never lie. I am of the gens Julii. She stands slowly, anger uncoiling like a razor. My family trades in commerce enough to buy continents. Who could afford to purchase my honor? If one day I become your enemy, I will tell you. And I will tell you why. All right. Hello, Rusters. Hello, Charles. How are we? We just recorded your episode, and now we're hopping right into mine, which is Chapter 6, Icarus. So, my good men, how are you in the 5 minutes since we were last recording your episode?
I'm good, and I love that quote. Victra.
It is.
Full-on
Victra. We're going to get there,
Victra.
but it is. I put it on the Instagram today, but it's so crazy that, like, some of her most memorable, badass, amazing lines are on, like, the first 5 chapters of the first book that she's in. You know, they're the first pages. The first thing, first 25 lines that she has in the books are awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. It's
but we don't know if we could trust her, though. That's where I feel like I took it in and I just
save it,
I
put
know.
a pin in it.
Settle down.
For the listeners out there, here be dragons and spoilers for all books and all things. We will do our best to remember that not everybody has read the books, but this is a chapter-by-chapter recap of the damn books, so you better have read them. If you haven't, get cracking. The other thing is we are adults. We are grown-ass men. And not that women can't swear, but we're grown adult people. And so that means we swear, and sometimes we make jokes, and sometimes we talk about shit that is adult in nature and maybe upsetting to some, because we'll keep it to just the books, but there's stuff that happens in the books that can be a little unnerving or tender or not great for some people to hear. So be aware of that going in. If you know that there's a chapter that has something that happens in it that you don't love, don't listen. Skip that chapter. Skip that episode. Don't put yourself in a position where you hear something you don't like. And as always, Pierce Brown has created this amazing sandbox. We're just playing in it, and so we thank him eternally for the wondrous beauty that is the harrowing rise and maybe fall and maybe rise of Darrow and gang and the society at large. My howl of appreciation today is one Mrs. Lamoth. In 2nd grade, I was having a hard time reading. My ADHD was severe, and I had yet to be thrown on Ritalin. And so I had to go to a reading specialist. A SPED class is what we called it back in the day. Which I'm sure is now inappropriate, but it stood for special education or something. I don't know.
I think that was
special
it.
education.
Yeah.
And she was the reading specialist, and she broke me through my crazy inability to focus and pay attention to an alarming degree, to the point where now I can sit and read for 12 hours straight without, like, going to the bathroom or doing anything other than reading. That is all because Mrs. Lamoth taught me the beauty and wonder that is reading. And I am forever indebted to her.
That's awesome.
Charles.
Yes, sir.
There is on Loon, in the major city there, the Citadel.
Yes.
So I get that right. There's a mode of transportation between the various buildings, skyscrapers, that goes up and down and across and side to side. What are they called?
They use a form of, like, zip line to get.
Okay, we're going to get to it.
All right.
But they have a specific name.
No, I just know it as a zip line, but they use that because the gravity is so low that they can basically just, like, tug themselves along this line from building to building.
They're called rung paths.
Rung paths. Yeah, I wouldn't have remembered that. Zip line is.
And I don't think we ever hear about them ever again.
No.
I think it's a total, like, it was made up on the spot. Pierce Brown was like, oh, this is cool. And then, like, it's never referenced ever again. I don't think. I can't remember another time.
I almost guarantee it's never brought up again. And it just seems like you got people with spaceships kind of flying around in between buildings, and then you just have people floating, tugging.
100%. In your head, it looks cool. Like, oh, they're zinging through the city and whatever. But literally one motorcycle flying through would take out an entire, rung of people and decimate them.
Yep. And
anyhow, I just thought
it seemed weird too. I always thought is like, well, the Golds had grav boots and they're the ones that could fly and they had the luxury, but yet anyone could use those rung paths, and it's as if
someone's going to like hand over hand climb a ladder to get to the top of a building. I think it was definitely one of those loosely formed ideas in Pierce's sandbox that was cool in the moment, and then was like, let's drop that moving forward. Book and Box Co. I just want to shout out at the top. I'm going to do it every time. The new logo, they're the best. Yeah. They've got tumblers. They've got a new Howler sweatshirt they just released. Check them out. Everything that they produce is super cool. I'm wearing the new logo Sons of Ares t-shirt, and super cool to check out what they got going on. So again, that's Book and Box Co. on Instagram and Etsy. And now, my good men, are you prime?
Yes, sir, I am.
Then let's go. All right. I gotta try and see this. My old eyes.
Oh no.
Get the Darrow and yeah, right. Darrow and Roke and the rest of House Augustus arrive on Lune and are checking into the Citadel when Roke explains why he can't join Darrow for practice with the Razor. Darrow is legally still a member of the family, and legally he is safe so long as he stays on the Citadel grounds. But his contract will be up for bid immediately after the gala event that the Sovereign is planning, which, again, we don't really know what it is about yet, but it's essentially to showcase her power over the society. Darrow gets to his temporary digs here at the Citadel and finds out that he truly has fallen in the worlds, as the room that he's being put into is not fitting his former status or station. And his response kind of confirms that he is, sure, he's red, but he has gone pretty close to full gold, because he just scoffs at the idea that somebody of his position should be put in this broom closet. Another case of color on color hierarchy crime plays out between Theodora, who is Darrow's pink that we met in a couple chapters ago, and she takes umbrage with a pink that is assigning them to this room. And she has a great line here where she says, basically the other pink makes a joke about her being old, and Theodora says, all petals wilt, and then goes on to strong-arm the guy by dropping the name of a woman that she was friends with at the Garden of Dryope, which is a house, essentially the pink's version of a house, and it shows that she's tapped into the really elite of the pink hierarchy.
The roses.
The roses. Darrow has a visit with Victra, and this is where we begin to see who she really is. We find out that she is as confused by Darrow and Tactus as I am, and that she despises her sister, and she is painfully honest. She advises our plucky hero to take action and be an active member in his own play. Darrow rightfully is wary, but ultimately sees the wisdom of making a move first. And so Victra brings him to an ugly little flyer that is filled with gray mercenaries and is going to escort them in disguise to a place called Lost City. Did I miss anything, Charles?
No, and when you brought up Theodora, I thought you were going to bring up the quote where she talks about how gravity like pulls everything down.
Yes. Which is that's the one, right? The all petals wilt. Did I miss
Yes.
it?
No. But she says one other line, which I was like, he's going to mention this part. But she's like, it's nice to flex some muscle, even though everything else droops.
Yes. Yeah. Which I think is also a great little. Theodora becomes a really under
appreciated,
underappreciated, and also under seen. Like, we don't see a ton of her, we don't hear a ton of her, but the stuff that we do get is really rich. It's very, very fun to watch her evolve and play along.
Do we ever learn how they first got introduced?
No.
Nope. I always wondered that, like how they got intertwined and they have an understanding with each other in a secret language. And
well, my guess is that she's assigned him once he became an Augustan. They probably, everybody gets assigned somebody, and he was assigned her because she can show him the manners and all the ins and outs of proper etiquette and whatnot. And I bet you that every gold has some kind of, or all the iron gold, probably not the pixies, but anybody that cares if somebody's listening.
Yeah.
Like she doesn't know he's a red, but he obviously doesn't want people to hear certain conversations he's having or whatever. So it's not too shocking to me that they have cues and body language that allows them to understand what they're both saying without actually saying anything.
I like to think, before we move on, I like to think that Mustang was the one that was like, oh no, Darrow's going to come into House Augustus. He needs a pink liaison or whatever. And she's the one that recommended her.
I like that. I like that a lot. That actually, that works in the when we think about Iron Gold and Dark Age.
Yeah.
That definitely
makes a difference.
Lines up well. All right, so breaking down the opening quote a little bit here. In a series of badass quotes, this has to be one of the best, and it's an act of bravery in and of itself, because who the fuck would do this?
Yeah.
She's basically saying, I'm your woman, I'm your guy, but also don't fuck with me.
Yeah.
Because not only will I turn on you, but I'll tell you. There will be no confusion as to where I stand. And that's fucking brave as shit, because it'd be a lot easier to just jab him in the back. Yeah, that's the exact perfect word, which I think is Victra in a nutshell.
Yes. Yeah. She's a ball of fire. She's, a wrecking ball. God, I hate that song. But she doesn't hold back, and you'll find out later in the series when she'll let you know if there's an issue or you're at odds. And we finally get to rope in her personality and understand her a little bit more, and how much she hates her sister and how she feels like she has to fix everything because her sister ruins everything. But she has to be the exact opposite of what Antonia is. But again, I don't know if I could trust her at this early stage. She says this in the beginning, but again, I'm like, I don't know you. And you don't realize until later in the book, and on other books, you're like, oh, these are, like you pointed out, some badass quotes, but you need that later realization to make it work.
And everything has to be seen through the lens of Darrow knows how smart these golds are, how manipulative they are, because he dealt with the jackal.
Yeah.
And he's in love with Mustang. And for all Mustang's wonderful attributes, she's extremely manipulative and extremely and highly intelligent and capable. So he is aware that there's always something going on under the surface with all these golds all the time.
But he needs to learn more. He needs to learn politics faster, which is also another thing that Victra points out to him. You know, especially like Pliny and how much backstabbing that guy was doing. And it's like Victra is the one explaining to Darrow, telling him stuff that he still didn't know to that until that moment. So he needs to learn fast politics and how it works and how
And
backstabbing.
intuition too. Like
Yeah.
he needs to figure out how to read people quickly.
Which
So in
isn't
this
an
chapter
easy
we
thing
had
to do. I mean, that's not like a quick
no.
trait to pick up. It's not, oh, this weekend I'll just learn it, you know.
And truthfully, the only
It's an
way to
art.
learn it is to get burned.
Yeah, true.
You know, to figure out what people's tells are and know when somebody's planning something. And the only way you can do that is when they do it.
Yes.
The first mentions that we have in this chapter, we first hear about Lost City, which I love that name. It's the seedy underworld of Loon. I imagine, you ever see Demolition Man?
Oh, hell yes. Arnold.
No. Sly. It's Demolition Man is Sylvester Stallone.
Oh, so you're right.
And,
Sylvester Stallone. I'm thinking of Running Man.
Wesley Snipes. Oh, which is also a great movie.
Yes.
But Lost City is
that
in my
Sandra
mind,
Bullock too?
Yes.
Yeah.
And when they go into like where Dennis Leary and the weird like mutant people all live underneath in
the underground.
Exactly. That's what I picture Lost City to look like.
Yes. Dennis Leary.
We get our first.
He has like a Cadillac or something.
Yeah. I think it's an old like
some
taxi
sort of
cab or something.
Some piece of shit.
Did we ever hear the word scarab skin?
So I'm not sure on that. I know they got the Darrow steel and stuff from the Institute, but I don't think scarab skin gets brought up.
Well, if it was, then I'm wrong, and I apologize. But scarab skin is mentioned. Scarab, you've heard of scarab beetles before?
Yes, of course. The blood-sucking Egyptian.
I don't know about blood sucking. The ones that the Egyptians have in their hieroglyphics and that they ritualized and whatnot were the dung beetles. They were the ones that collect animal dung.
Oh, well, maybe like I'm just going off of the mummy movies where they just eat people.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yes,
that's my knowledge on scarabs.
We already covered rung paths, which I think that this is the first and only mention of this weird form of travel.
Yeah.
We get our first mention, I believe, of lurchers, which they are a real thing. It's a breed of dogs that is a mating of greyhounds and terrier types. So when you see a Irish deer hound or a wolf hound, that is called a lurcher.
Really? That's cool. That's fascinating.
It's cool because I've always loved the Irish wolfhound. I think they're cool as hell looking. Huge. Which makes sense when you think of the lurcher being like a giant gray.
Yes. And that's something I always wanted to be, like I figure the Marine Corps, infantry, that's like being the elite, the lurcher, where I feel like if I wanted to be an Obsidian, as if my former life, I was in like Navy SEALs or like Delta Force. Mm-hmm. So I always kind of pictured, we used to play a little game, especially during Hazard Bedlam. It's like, well, what color are you? And it's like, I think I'm more of a gray. I'm more of like maybe the lurcher side classification.
I think you're right. And I think it's a lurcher is the graves, the lurchers, the Marines, they're all like, it's mass produced violence.
Yeah.
Whereas the special operations or the Obsidians type, that's a much smaller, more clan-based style warfare. It's a tight-knit little group of team members that work very intimately with each other, whereas Marine Corps lurcher types, they're plug and play. You just put the pieces on the board and they do what they do. Then we also get our first mentions, I believe, of the legions, the Gray Legions. In this early phase in Golden Sun, and it could just be, maybe it's not Pierce Brown, but maybe it's Darrow's knowledge, but I doubt it because the Academy would have told him.
Yeah, true.
There's many different legions. There's the 10th, the 13th, the 11th, but at this point, he just refers to the Legion. And they have a 20-year stint that they have to do, and then they can get out and become mercenaries or do whatever they want, which is actually based on the real Roman Legion. Originally, it was a 16-year stint under the Marian reforms.
Jeez.
And then in the Augustan age, it went up to a 25-year stint.
And that's how many of them actually survived 25
A
years?
shocking amount. A
Really?
shocking amount.
Oh,
Yep.
wow. I was picturing a lot of them would just end up dead, and then they're like, all right, well, you don't have to worry about it.
A shocking amount in terms of, you would think that maybe 10% survive, but it's closer to like 40 to 50% survived to the full 25 years. To the point where it was a problem because so many of them survived. And basically what happens is you get a pension and you get a plot of land. I don't remember exactly the acreage, but you get a certain amount of acreage that you can then farm. And Rome was constantly running out of land, good farming land. And so they didn't have enough. So then you had a bunch of angry vets who had spent 25 years being the most elite soldiers on the planet.
Fuck yeah.
And they're just sitting around Rome like,
where's my
I want my money, Brian. I want my money, Brian.
It's a good reference. Where's my money, bitch?
Thank you. I want my money, Brian.
You know what that also makes me think of? They're talking about raising the retirement age to like 69 now. So isn't that the same shit? Just rinse and repeat?
Very much so. And yeah, think 25 years, which is also why they were incredibly, the unit cohesion of we're talking Empire Rome. So Augustan on. The unit cohesion was incredible. Think about, you serve with 2 or 3 years with a unit or not even with the same unit, but and after 6-8 months, you're, very efficient, very well. Now take that and
machine.
put it to 25 years
That's
and you're
scary.
serving with the same group.
That's scary.
By the end of your tour, like, these guys were crazy good at what they were doing.
And now they have nothing to do. So
and that's why they kept them in. So the Romans fought in a 3-line. It's still foggy how it actually worked, but they'd put the fresh guys, the young guys up front. Then the middle guys were the guys in the 10 to 15 years in. And then the guys in the very last line were the guys that were 20, 25 years in.
About to get out.
And they were the ones who were back there so that if it went to shit, the lines up front could go behind and rally behind them because those older guys weren't breaking.
They would never break. There's no reason for them the last shield wall.
Exactly. They've seen it all. They know how to deal with it. They're the reserve. So I just thought that was interesting. We're already starting to see the legions forming and the gray world becoming more clear. Also, there's a mention, and I don't know if this ever comes back, but there's a mention of the Greys that Darrow's meeting here have a yellow triangular badge, or they don't have.
They don't,
which tells him that they're mercenaries. That badge is, I don't think that comes back because then eventually it's just tattoos. Well, he knows what legion they are because they had the neck tats.
And I remember you brought that up before about neck tattoos. So when I reread this part, and I was like, ooh, I thought that he was bringing up a triangle or gold triangle on their neck, but it's like, no, an insignia on their shirt or something that was missing.
Yeah. Which, I'm not sure where that goes or if it ever is a thing, but
it could have been.
It's the only mention of it.
But maybe that's something on the newer fleets or legions went to tattoos and on the neck, where the earlier guys that are already out, did their time. They were only like, that's probably why there was no tattoos or any sort of insignia.
I think what it is that Pierce is a kind of a gardener in the sense that he plants a seed here, plants a seed there, and then thinks of a cooler thing down the line, like the sigils.
Yeah.
Are they metal? Are they bone? Are they tattoos? Are they implants?
Yeah.
You hear various different things about them.
Well, in this chapter,
I like that. I like that a lot. I enjoy the fact that it's kind of up to your imagination.
And Darrow mentions it, and it touches on some of your points of this chapter where Darrow kind of feels like he is a gold and he was disrespected, given this closet space for accommodation. And he talked about ripping the sigils out of his hands to be sold like a common slave. And it's like, all right, well, so you literally have to rip something out of your hands. He's not like rip it off my hands, or it's like some sort of device.
We know from Red Rising it's
implanted.
They were stolen. So, yeah.
And then it's his mindset and how he's like, well, now you might as well sell me like a slave. It's like, well, you're fully invested in this. You're a gold mindset. This is your reaction.
Truly. He's not full gold, but he's almost.
Yeah, almost.
We also have a mention to the governed age. Roke is going to go see he's going to go to a conference where they talk about capitalism during the governed age, which again, I don't know if there's ever a reference to it again, but the governed age is basically the time we're living in now.
Yes.
Where there are governments here on earth that run everything, not corporations, not autocrats or anything like that. I like that name, the governed age.
Yeah.
Then there's a reference.
The name.
What's that?
It's the only name that they talked about because who's the guest speaker? And,
we're getting there. We're getting there. All right. There's a reference to the beauty of Etruscan graves, which Etruscan graves are the graves of the people, the forebearers of Rome, the Etruscans. And they have really elaborate and beautifully designed cave conical mounds that are graves that are just carved out of rock and built out of stone, but they built them like their homes because they, like the Egyptians, believed in the afterlife, the fact that you basically go to a place that's just a version of your current life. And so throughout history, not just the Romans, but writers in the Middle Ages through up until today have traveled over to this area of Italy and seen these graves and written about just the stunning beauty and the kind of haunting beauty of these graves. So again, it's a Pierce Brown just loves throwing these little bits in,
just to make your head spin.
I know, just to give me shit to research. The high class of the Roses, the house that Theodora mentions, Dryope, is like Daphne. Famously, Daphne was she was a nymph, a wood nymph, and Apollo tried to rape her, and to get away from him, she turned herself into a tree. Daphne, a nymph, was not avoiding the tender embraces or not so tender embraces of a god, but she eventually also found herself turned into a tree. It also is a type of fern that grows in the fall and in the summer. Actually, we have them in New England, the Dryope ferns. Stradivarius is another name that's referenced in this chapter. We'll talk about it in a moment, but the Stradivarian line was a family of instrument makers in the 16th or 17th century. They're incredibly famous today. There was one made in 1716 that was like perfect. Today, it's like in mint, brand new condition now, and it went for $20 million. Supposedly the sound produced by them is better than can be created by like a computer. It's just perfect tonal sound. I don't know enough about music to tell you anything more than that. But that's where Stradivarius comes from. Icarus, The chapter is called Icarus. And do you know the myth of Icarus and Daedalus?
No, I've heard it. I've heard it before, but I don't.
Well, don't fly too close to the sun. That's
all
where
right.
that expression comes from. Icarus was the son of Daedalus. Daedalus was a famous inventor and sculptor. There's a line in Livy or Plutarch, one of the ancient writers, I think it's Socrates actually, where he says that Daedalus's statues had to be tied to the ground because they were so lifelike that they might walk away. And so we think maybe Daedalus was a real sculptor, or there was a famous sculptor named Daedalus. And maybe they were an inventor. We don't know. But in myth, Daedalus also created the maze that the Minotaur was kept in and hunted down criminals or whatever in the maze, eventually getting his head cut off by Theseus, I think. And the Icarus is important to this chapter and I think to Golden Sun in general, because Icarus was the son of Daedalus. The two of them were imprisoned and they were trying to figure out a way to escape. They had the idea to use wax to attach feathers to their arms and jump out of their prison tower. And at first it was working. They were gliding down, maybe flying down. But eventually Icarus liked the sensation of flying so much that he thought he might be able to reach the sun. And so he flew closer and closer to Apollo. Apollo didn't like that, or Helios didn't like that. And eventually the heat from the sun melted the wax and the feathers fell and Icarus fell to his death. So there are parallels here.
Yeah.
Darrow is much like Icarus, very flying closer and closer to the sun. What will happen? We will find out in 50 chapters. There's also our first mention, I believe, of Regulus Ag Sun, otherwise known as Quicksilver.
Yes. I always forgot his real name, or they only say Regulus or Quicksilver, but yeah.
It comes back a few more times, but not very often. It's usually just Quicksilver. I love the name Regulus for a very specific reason. He was a Roman general during the First Punic War, I think. Might have been the second one, but I'm pretty sure it was the first one. He won a naval battle at Cape Ecnomus, which is a really fascinating battle. If anybody likes Roman history, dive into that. It's wild. But he also, the myth about him, and we're not sure the truth of it. It's likely a good story, is that he's captured by the Carthaginians, and the Carthaginians want to try and get a peace deal out of the Romans. And he says, I'll be your deputation. I'll go and I'll tell them that you want peace. And the Carthaginians say, you have to promise to come back. No matter what they say, you have to come back. And if they say no, and they want to go with the war, then we're going to kill you. We're going to torture you to death.
Even if he comes back.
He has to come back, and if he comes back and they say no to the peace, then we're going to torture you and kill you. And he swears on his Roman honor.
Yeah.
And he goes back, and not only does he go back and plead the case of the Carthaginians for peace, but he then says to the Roman Senate, do not take peace, do not make peace, continue the war, they're on the ropes, we can win this, keep fighting. And then he goes back to the Carthaginians, they torture him and kill him.
Wow. Honor to the last.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
It's just such a great Roman story of, this general, this haggard general who knows he's going to die, but has pride and honor and believes in the purity of Rome to say, no, keep fighting. And I'm going to go back and tell them you said no.
How do you think that fits into Quicksilver, though? Is there some
silver
lining
that's where
here?
I think sometimes it's just
A cool name and a story that
it's a name in history that he really likes and wants to give to a
wanna,
character.
Yeah.
Where I think the name fits though is Quicksilver is it's the metallic version of Mercury.
Yep.
And it can also mean petty king and tyrant. AG is the silver symbol on the periodic table. And the Quicksilver also means to change quickly or be very mercurial. And so there's some element there of the character Quicksilver. He is kind of like that. He makes very hard to discern decisions. He's very mercurial in his behavior. And he can be a petty king. He can be a very petty tyrant. As we see later in the books, he's a difficult person to deal with. One of my favorite Tim Gerard Reynolds characters, by the way. He reads Quicksilver exactly how I hear Churchill in my head.
Very much a blustering, hello, Darrow, oh, my boy, my golden boy, I love you so much.
Yes, and we know you love your Churchill.
I love my Churchill. I'm looking right at him right here. And then the last thing I want to introduce before we get back to the actual chapter is there's a great story about Lorne in here. And this is why Lorne O. Arcos is so cool, is we don't really know much about him at this point, but everything we do know is basically just the retold mythology and lore behind him. You know, it's the stories that get hinted at, the sayings, the quotes, all the attributed and maybe misattributed lines that he's said. And supposedly, and this is one of those. Exactly. He's a living myth. And this is a misattribution because Roke says they're talking about Quicksilver, and Roke says this story about how at one point Lorne is talking to Octavia, and he says, you know, there's a man can never be too young to kill, too wise, or too strong to kill, but they can be too rich.
Yeah.
And Octavia, the person that responds, Roke has the wrong person. And Darrow corrects him and says, actually, he was talking to Octavia, and she said, you forget, I am a woman. Do you know the reference to that?
No, but I feel like I think Roke was the one saying it, that Augustus was speaking it.
Yes.
And Darrow corrected him, said that's Lorne who said it.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, so yeah, the misattribution is there.
Yeah, I don't know where it derived from.
So I think, and I don't have any proof of this, but my guess is the reference here is to Lord of the Rings, which, and I'm just going to read the lines here. It's a cold voice answered, "Come not between the Nazgul and his prey, or he will not slay thee in thy turn. He will bear thee away to the house of lamentation, beyond all darkness, where thy flesh shall be devoured, and thy shriveled mind be left naked to the lidless eye." A sword rang out as it was drawn. "Do what you will, but I will hinder it if I may." "Hinder me? Thou fool! No living man may hinder me." Then Mary heard of all sounds in that hour the strangest. It seemed that Dernhelm laughed, and the clear voice was like the ring of steel. "But no living man am I. You look upon a woman. Yeoman I am, yeoman's daughter. You stand between me and my lord and kin. Begone if you be not deathless, for living or dark undead, I will smite you if you touch him." That's the reference.
Yeah.
Right?
I can see it. I don't know how you pulled that out of your ass, like remembering that from Lord of the Rings.
Dude, I've read Lord of the Rings so many fucking times. But it's got to be that, because I can't. I mean, maybe he came up with it on his own, but it's the exact same story.
No,
of like,
it has to be, because then even Roke repeats it too afterwards. He's like saying it to himself. He's like, I am a woman. Like almost trying to like keep touching on that point.
Gotta be it.
I like that.
Which the irony here, though, is Tolkien was actually referencing Shakespeare. Because there's a scene in Macbeth where Macbeth has the same kind of, there's a situation where he's talking to Macduff and he talks about, well, I can't be killed because of this and I bear a charmed life and yada, 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 which must not yield to a woman. How's the fucking line go? Anyhow, it's I bear a charmed life. I forgot the fucking line. But anyhow, Macbeth is basically saying, you can't kill me because of this particular circumstance. And Macduff says, well, actually, I was born of a woman early, so I can kill you. And Tolkien didn't like how that was structured. He didn't think that the payoff was good enough. So Tolkien was actually rewriting a Shakespeare reference to get it so that it was right.
That's cool.
And then I think Pierce Brown is rewriting a Tolkien sequence to maybe make it a little bit less wordy and more concise.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's all headcanon, but I thought it was interesting.
No, that's wicked cool.
My first quote of the chapter, which is crazy that I'm just getting there. I apologize to everyone listening. Jesus Christ, I can't believe that took up so much time. Sorry, Chuck.
All good.
He's what his brothers made him to be, she notes, hesitating as if reluctant to share her information with me. When do you think he's ever received something without someone wanting something in return? You made him uncomfortable. Why do you think I'm wary with you? I lean closer. It's because you always want something, Victra, just like your sister. Ah, I thought it might be Antonia. She's always ruining things. Ever since the she-wolf gnawed her way out of mother's womb and stole human clothes. Good that I was born first, else she might have strangled me in my crib. And she's only my half-sister anyway. Different fathers. Mother never saw much point in monogamy. You know, Antonia even goes by Severus instead of Julii just to take a piss on Mother. Cantankerous brat. And I get saddled with her moral baggage. Ridiculous. I thought, first off, the story there is Darrow buys a Stradivarius violin for Tactus. Tactus receives it, is perplexed, doesn't know why the fuck Darrow gave him this gift, and then turns around and sells it to buy pinks and drugs.
Yes.
And Darrow is like, oh, I guess we're not friends. I thought that we were friends here. Why does Darrow care for Tactus? He's clearly unstable. There doesn't seem to be much in the way of redeeming qualities like with Severo. What do you think Darrow's fucking hang-up is?
I think the only thing I can possibly think of, and that's because I've read obviously further through it, he feels like he can fix him or something. Like he sees him as this broken person and he wants to like help him and fix him for some reason. But I, along with you, don't see what you could possibly gain from it. From all the way from the Institute, I thought he should have been like killed then for how he acted, and the whole whipping scene I didn't feel like was enough embarrassment or punishment enough. So I still don't know what Darrow sees in him.
Yeah, I just, it's perplexing because it's so clear to me that this kid is fucked up. Like he's beyond saving. And he's selfish. It's not like there's a few moments in the Institute where he is coming up to Darrow and like, hey, we saw skip boots, tracks, but nothing is ever.
He has his uses, and he's great in like combat and war. He's got great instincts, and like even through the Institute, Darrow knew he's like, I need to go take the army and clear out the South, and he never had to think twice about it. He's like, I know Tactus will do it while I prepare the rest of Olympus for the Jackal, but he's you wouldn't let him into your house, is what I'm saying. Like, I'd hang out with the guy and like
not.
go to war with him, but I wouldn't tell him where I live. Like, that's how I would put it.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
I think that's spot on. Another thing here that I think is worth breaking down a little bit is, correct me if I'm wrong, but Darrow is judging Victra based on her blood.
Yes.
Which seems just as unfair as judging somebody based on their color.
Yes. That's a good point.
Very much a hierarchy thing.
Yeah. So it's becoming a gold.
But I don't think so, because we know that golds aren't the only ones that judge the other colors based on their colors. Maybe they've constructed the system, but grays judge reds judge everybody else. Like, they all judge all of them.
Yes. But gold's at the tippity top, so they can judge everyone.
From their perspective, they judge everybody. But I mean, I just think it's telling that it's another reminder of Darrow is like anybody else, like any other human being. We judge people unfairly.
Yeah.
And Victra's not like that.
No. And
she may be unique in the series, as maybe her and Severo are the only people that don't automatically judge another person based on their color, and not even Severo, because he judges Bologna, although Bologna gave him reason. So it's not like it was
there was
unbiased.
cause, there was reason. But yeah, that's a great point. Then I don't want to go too far for people who haven't gotten that far, but I like that personality trait of them. They literally give people the benefit of the doubt, which not even to this day, and people in real life, they don't do. They make rash judgments, and they cling to them for far too long until they either correct it or they dismiss whoever they're dealing with because they believe in that judgment. It's fucked up.
It's one of those things where you prove me wrong.
Yeah, we're like, why would she have to? And she's going on a limb here and saying like, hey, I have this other avenue for you, and it's still, he questions it only because of Antonia.
And I think that you touched on the real world that we live in. It would be a much better place if people were like, prove me right. Yeah. I think you're a good, trustworthy person, and prove me right.
Yep.
I don't trust you. I think you're a fucked up person. Prove me wrong and do the right thing. That probably shouldn't be the way we go, but we're also humans. So it's like natural to just be suspicious of people outside of our tribes. We are still cavemen. We have
pretty much,
it's that saying we talked about before. You have cavemen brains with medieval institutions and godlike technology. We still have the caveman brains. We still see things as tribal. The next quote I have here is, I follow Victra's pink to her room. I follow Victra's pink to her room's private terrace. Her bath alone is larger than my bed. It's not fair, a voice says from behind the ivory white trunk of a lavender tree. I turn to see Victra playing with the thorns of a shrub. You being cut loose like a gray mercenary. Since when have you been concerned with fair, Victra? Must you always fence with me, she asks. Come, sit. Even with the scars that distinguish her from her sister, her long form and luminous face is without true fault. She sits smoking some designer burner that smells like a sunset over a logged forest. She's heavier of bone than Antonia, taller, and seems to have been melted into being, like a spearhead cooling into angular shape. Her eyes flash with annoyance. I'm as far from an enemy as you have, Darrow. So what are you? A friend? A man in your position could use a friend, no? I'd rather have a dozen stained bodyguards. Who has the money for that? She laughs. I just wanted to cover that because I really love that description of her.
Yes.
First off, she's smoking.
Yeah.
And when a beautiful woman smokes like well and looks good smoking, it's a pretty. I got a thing for it.
It's a turn on.
I mean, I'm just saying. You see, old school photos of beautiful Italian women smoking. I mean, what else? What else could you ask for? Especially if that cigarette smells like a sunset over a logged forest. It's wild.
Weak at the knees.
For sure. It does it for me. The other thing that I loved is that spearhead. The idea of her being like cool, metal cooling, angular like a spearhead.
Being formed, I think
that's a
forged.
Great description.
Well, I never really put it together, but her personality, her truth, she doesn't lie. She doesn't hide behind things. Just like the scars on her face, she doesn't have them fixed or covered up. She's like, She's
the most honest person in the whole series.
She keeps those faults. I never really put that together, but that's part of her personality. It's all there for you to witness. I am who I am.
It's on display at all times. And that's the idea of her saying, if I'm ever your enemy, you'll know.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
And then there's another line that he uses to describe her. Victra plays with the many jade rings on her fingers. I find them odd, contrasting with the Spartan severity of her scarred face. But Victra has always been a woman of contrasts. I just love that because it's what makes interesting characters in books, in media, in real life, people that are just an amalgamation of contrasts are fascinating. And that's why we like Darrow, right?
Yeah.
He's a red and he's a gold. He's the highest of the high and the lowest of the low. He's the complete embodiment of contrasting things.
Yeah. All over the place.
He's a warlord, but he doesn't want to be. He has a girlfriend, but he can't be with her. And Victra, it's fascinating because she is contrast. She's severe and yet beautiful. She is ruthless but loyal as they come. She's manipulative but very honest.
It's twisted.
It's twisted, but it works perfectly. And she has another line to Darrow, which is our Severo moment. We're going to go back to a Severo minute here.
Yeah, it's been a while.
She says to Darrow, "You stop being a little bitch."
Yes, this is my favorite.
It's just a one-liner.
Yeah.
But it's also great advice.
What do you need of me or something? And she's like, just stop being a little bitch. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I love her. Yeah.
I love her, and also it's great advice to Darrow, particularly at this moment. We're in, there's a famous line down the road. I won't get into details, but a character says to Darrow, "Still brooding."
Yeah. Yep.
And this first few chapters here are a lot of brooding Darrow, sad Darrow.
And that was the first book, The Institute. Cassius left him for dead. He was brooding. He was sad, and then he, had to pick himself up. Well, Mustang obviously helped.
Mustang was more gentle, but she essentially said the same thing. Stop being a little bitch.
And then you got Roke. In this beginning of the book, he's like, "I'll do what I can for you. Maybe I'll get my mother to pay for your contract, and you just gotta keep your chin up." And then you have Victra, who's stop being a bitch. You got to have that, sometimes you got to pat somebody on the back. Sometimes you got to kick them in the ass.
And it works here because it gets him moving.
Yep.
Another thing that we learn about Victra is she's 7 years older than Darrow.
Oh, I forgot about that.
And so she's older and wiser, maybe. Not maybe, definitely.
Yeah.
And there was something, I put it out on Instagram, but how much is the truth? How much does the truth cost? Because she basically says, "I'm so rich that I don't need to lie."
Yeah.
That's why I will tell you if we become enemies. I will tell the truth because I can afford to tell the truth. And before we dive in, I want to know what you think. How rich do you need to be morally? How morally wealthy do you need to be to speak the truth? What does it cost?
Well, that's what. So the truth costs nothing. I believe, and it reminded me of that HBO series Chernobyl. It's what is the cost of lies? Lies is what is the cost. It doesn't cost anything to be truthful. You can just bear everything all out. You're not hurting anything, but it's when you start delving into lies, and that could cost people's livelihoods. That's when there's a price tag involved. That's my answer.
I think I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. We have Howler Tickler said peace.
Yep.
Which is true.
Mm.
And peace in the sense of like war and peace, but also inner peace. Daily.
That's how I first pictured
life.
it. Was like inner peace.
Drunk on Ink ATX says everything and nothing. Truth is worth everything, yet it costs us nothing to give it freely.
So that's kind of how I was playing with it. Like truth isn't literally costs nothing, but there is a cost to lies. I like that. I like how she put that in.
And then Tommy Fit 240 said nothing and everything all the time. So some trends there.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good read. And then Alicia Fortune Reed said friendship sometimes.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You know, if
100%, yeah.
I mean, everybody I know, including myself, has burned a bridge, has ruined a friendship because they were too honest.
Yeah.
And even when you've got to do it, you know, you got to say whatever you got to say. It's never free. Nothing in life is free.
No.
One last thing that Victra says, it's kind of her sign off to the gray mercenaries. She said they're like, "Are you ready to go?" or whatever, and she says, "Certain as death," which I mean, fucking A.
Yeah.
What a hard motherfucker.
Oh yes. Were you followed? Were you sure you weren't followed?
Yes.
Certain as death.
Were you sure you weren't followed?
Yeah.
Because
at that point I was like, okay, this isn't a game. She's not trying to like get Darrow out of the Citadel and have him taken out. Like she's with him. She's going on this trip. She had to get hidden with ghost cloaks to get out of the Citadel as well. She's committed. So at first I kind of got a little glimpse of like, maybe there's something more to this Victra instead of just I don't trust her.
I think that's spot on.
Yeah.
And this whole chapter was basically laying the groundwork for she's maybe not trustworthy, but she's not actively working against Darrow.
And she's interesting. She's fucking interesting as hell. And we learned she's gorgeous. She's also like seductive. She's trying to like flirt with Darrow, and I wanted this character to continue on, and I'm glad she does.
I wanted them to get together.
Yeah.
I was shipping them, as the kids say.
Oh.
Because I thought, this is a good fit. Like, Darrow needs a hard ass person in his life to remind him, like, you're top dog at this, but like someone,
but you're a little bitch.
It can be taken from you.
Yeah. So I feel like she finds the right match in that department as well, finding a hard ass psychopath.
A much better fit.
Yeah.
Because she has to kind of also keep him sane.
Yeah.
This last bit is more bigger world than any of the other lines. Everything else, the quotes were very Victra centric, but this is more about the world. Though there are averages, colors are diverse in composition due to human genetics and the differing ecosystems throughout the society. The grays of Venus are often darker and more compact than those of Mars, but families move and mix and breed. The talent levels in each color are even more variable than appearance. Most grays aren't destined for anything more than patrolling shopping centers and city streets. Some go to the armies, some to the mines. But then there are the grays who were born a special breed of wicked and clever, and have been trained all their lives to hunt the gold enemies of their gold masters. Like these in the shuttle with us. They call them lurchers, after the mutt dogs of Earth crossbred for uncommon stealth, cunning, and speed, all for one purpose: killing things bigger than they are. So this opens a lot of doors here. We've got the lurchers. We also, they're named lurchers, but we find out that they use a dog vernacular. Dog talk is the way that the lurchers speak. They also are raised in kennels. There's a whole array of intertwined lurcher dog things that go on. Also, what is your take on the idea that the color system is genetic, but it's also, it's like both it's both nature and nurture are at play, where it's guided by genetics, but the ecosystem also kind of evolves the people. Then we find out
I read it as more of like they tried to control, but you're dealing with a vast solar system. So even how much control you can have, you tweak things as much as you can, then you kind of let nature, run its course as well. So, because I just saw it as they're trying to explain that there's different types within all the colors. They're not all, they don't all look the same. They don't all have the same features, and, they're all a little mixed here and there from alterations that maybe the Board of Quality Control or somebody within the society has kind of fucked with things here and there.
Which is a great point. Actually, I hadn't thought of that, but they would have to.
Yeah.
Because like Mercury's so close to the sun, if you're genetically engineering people to live there, you'd have to give them like a better ability to withstand UV rays or heat, or, you'd have to take into account the planets that they're actually on.
The climate, the planet, everything variable.
Even though they're terraformed and they've engineered the climate as much as they can, there's still things that they would have to have better or different than, say, an Earth-born person.
And I wondered about that. As far as like Luna, they terraformed it. It's considered, it's the heart of the society, right? So it's the capital. It should be the greatest, grandest, most beautiful. Why is it less gravity than Earth? Why is it like, did they just stop the terraforming at that point? And they're like, you know what? We don't need to match Earth's gravity. We're going to go on this lesser, so then they could build these skyscrapers. It's like,
I think that's it, is that there's less land mass. So you're not going to be able to build as many covering the actual land.
So you got to build up.
So you're going to have to build high, and it'll be easier and more cost effective if you can just float shit up.
Yeah.
So
I guess each planet and each moon is dependent on whatever circumstance you're dealt with, which again would be similar to the colors. You got to deal with whatever
reminds
variables.
Me of it had me thinking of The Expanse. You know how the Belters were like extra taller and long, and
their spines were messed up.
And it's from the null G.
Yeah.
But I just think I love these little windows into, we don't get a lot of them because again, Pierce Brown isn't trying to give you this rigid structure of the world, because he doesn't want to get into the science of what he's just kind of giving you hints at what happened to make it the way it is, so that your imagination does all the heavy lifting. And
which I like that. It's different than Tolkien.
Totally agree.
Different than Tolkien breaking it down and giving you their language and their history. And this is Pierce Brown making me invent my own theories.
But he's smart about it, because he's still giving you his version of the Tolkien history and stuff. That's what Lorne is, right? Like the mythology is there because that's Lorne's little quotes and whatnot. So you're still getting a lived in sense of like, this is a place with a common shared lore. But I don't need to explain to you where it came from or how it evolved and all that. It's that, and now play with it in your own brain.
Do you think it inadvertently did it to himself? And that's why we got the Book of Lorne? Like, he came up with these, he's like, I got this idea of this guy's going to be like a myth-like character. I write in these cool quotes. And then after all these quotes, after all these books, he's like, fuck, I want to know more about this guy. And then he kind of,
I think that's exactly it.
yeah, he dived into it himself. He did it to himself.
I think he probably was exactly like that. He was probably very much like, wow, I've really built this fucking cool guy.
Yeah.
What was his childhood like?
Yeah. I want to know more.
Yeah, for sure. And where Tolkien would just put in appendices at the end of the Return of the King.
Yeah.
You know, there's 54 appendices there. Pierce Brown's like, I'll just do a comic book thing.
Yeah. I'll do this prose and then comic book and
so that is what I've got. And so that's chapter 6, Icarus. We've read the comments, the type beams that were sent about the truth. Off Planet Holocan, are you watching anything? Did you get that documentary going?
No, which documentary? I have it.
The one on Netflix about with the cops.
Oh no, the body
cameras.
cam with the neighbor. No, I have not. But now I'm going to be watching that tomorrow.
Yeah, if you find time, definitely watch it because I want to talk to you about it. It was spectacular, in my opinion.
And I've heard from my coworkers, and it might sound like a similar story that's going on down the street from my in-laws. So that's scary.
Really?
Yeah. Which we can add into that funness.
Yeah. Keep an eye on that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
The Creator Corner, I want to highlight the fantastic podcast, Fade to Obsidian.
Yes.
Crescent, Skipper, and Salem every now and then. I don't think she's a guaranteed host, but she pops on a lot. Those guys are phenomenal. They have a lot of fun. They dive into the world of the world.
Yeah.
So they do talk a lot of Red Rising, but they also highlight a lot of the people in the world of the world. So right now they're doing a series on creators, so artists within the realm. And before that, they were doing a lot of interviews with people who do cosplay, which I have never done. But I feel like if there's ever another Howler Con, you and I have to find out what we're going to do.
Yes, I agree.
But yeah, Fade to Obsidian, they are now also on podcast platforms. They were just YouTube. So you can watch them on YouTube, but you can also listen to them. I can't recommend enough. They are just super cool. So give them a listen, a rate, review. Same with us. If you feel inclined, give us a rating, give us a review, or tell us we suck at this. I don't care. We get credit for it either way. On Spotify now, you can leave comments. So if you just want to leave a comment about the episode, you can, after you listen to it, it allows you to pop up a little comment section. We are on Instagram, Twitter, kind of. TikTok, Chuck is playing around with it and learning. And now Beijing is listening to our reviews of these chapters. So that's good.
They can learn how much I love Victra.
We all do.
Yes.
And we are also so that's at the Sons of Ares pod, and our email, if you want to send us a type beam with a question, a comment, a chapter or a specific scene you want to hear, I will read it, or Chuck and I will read it. And or if you have a fan fiction idea that you want me to write up, send that over. But definitely reach out. We'd love to hear from you. And Chuck, what else do we have?
No, that pretty much covers up this chapter. Great recap. Next chapter, I have chapter 7, the Afterbirth, which sounds
that sounds pretty
gross.
Nasty.
Yeah. So
so you've got 7, and then I will have 8, which is
Scepter and Sword.
Scepter and Sword. Okay. Well,
and I can't wait. We keep coming up sooner to this gala. I'm excited.
I know.
We have some cool things.
Gala.
Yeah. And we have some cool things to announce then.
Very, very fun. That'll be a good. Well, we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for listening. Valete.
For the Rising.
All right. We'll catch you next time.